Holy crap, what a day here in Canada. Things are just going absolutely insane. You have the media is turning on Justin Trudeau and Rob Ford. They both did a joint press conference and they actually snapped. They snapped back at the reporter. You have a 3-week timeline for Justin Trudeau to call a carbon tax election. You have a bit of an update in the polls. There's just so many things going on here in Canada. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. We are very close, very, very close to 400,000 subscribers. It means the world to me if you guys help me get there. And I do want to mention that I have another channel with completely separate content. There is no overlap. It is called Mr. Sunshine Extra. The link for that is down in the description or the pinned comment below. We're at 8,300 subscribers right now, trying to get that up and off the ground above 10 or even 20,000. So if you would like to see other things happening that I just can't cover in 20 minutes on this channel, then I would highly encourage you go visit the link down in the description or the pinned comment below for that channel. And without further ado, let's get into this video here. So we got an update in the polls. The projection for the Conservatives still sitting at 207, bottom line 176, top end 231. And when you look at the odds of winning, 99% likely for the Conservatives and still 98% likely for a majority. And I do think they're going to see that go back up to 99 in the coming days or weeks. And I do think that before they take off for the summer break, you're going to see the seat projections climb from 207 up to 215, even 220. But I'd like to know what you guys think down below. Do you think that that's going to happen, or do you think they're going to sit just barely above 200? Let me know down below in the comments. Liberals are going to X and saying, breaking, we secured Canada's largest ever investment in our auto industry and workers. But it didn't really go as planned. See, when they're actually asked by the media how many jobs this is going to create, this is a reaction. It's very weird.
So just to be clear, no one's willing to answer the question specifically. How many jobs are being created, and what is the cost for the government deal?
If you're not going to listen to the answer of it saying 1,000 jobs created, then there's nothing we can do for you.
I just said the spin-off jobs. They said 4,200. I'm sure it's going to even get up probably to 5,000. Multiply that by 7. There's your answer. 28 to 35,000 jobs. Not today, not for tomorrow, but for decades to come.
Oh, they are angry. They are angry, being asked very honest and simple questions that they should be able to answer. And it's also very weird. It shows that he's a bit of a cuck, that Justin Trudeau had to step in. Like, look at this. This is very weird demeanor here. The question was directed towards Rob Ford, and then Justin Trudeau comes in and swoops up the answer.
The government deal.
Like he cut him off. It's just so bizarre, man. It's so bizarre. And these little things, they add in over time. These little quirks, these little demeanors. And you see that even when he goes to the West Coast, or not the West Coast, but the West side of Canada, when Justin Trudeau meets with Premier Danielle Smith. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. How he just doesn't really have that manliness that a prime minister, a male prime minister, should carry. And I'd like to know down below in the comments, what do you think about that? Not only the answer, but the demeanor. Was it weird, or am I kind of looking into that a little bit too much? Next up, we have this clip that's going absolutely viral. A man confronts Toronto police, and they are in a LGBTQSLI plus police car.
Look at this, a transgender cop car.
Literally, like, it's not to just, it's not like it has the flags on it. It's got the 2SLG right there on the side. 2SLGBTQ plus. Wow.
Look at that.
Large gay black man wearing blonde wig in civilian clothing. In the car. Okay.
Are you guys cops, or you just identify as cops? That's none of your business, and I'm hands-free, so there's nothing you can do. I'm just asking you a question, Sergeant. Are you cops, or you identify as cops? I have no idea. That reality doesn't exist anymore, right?
No doubt. Oh my God. Are you cops or do you just identify as cops? It's kind of weird, man, how gender's been so politicized. It's very bizarre. I mean, kudos to people that swing that way. It is what it is. But to just plaster it everywhere, it's kind of weird, man. And I know a lot of people are fed up with it. I got gay friends. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't think anyone really has an issue with people that are gay. It's your life. Do with it as you will, as long as it's not at the expense of others. But just the politicization of gender in like your sexual preference, it's weird, man. It's kind of weird. But that was a good zinger for the cop. Are you a cop or do you identify as a cop? Because, hey, man, there's some people out there that identify as some crazy stuff. So we're going to kind of backtrack a little bit to this interview here, or this press conference. So as auto manufacturers begin to scale back on EVs globally, city failing demand, Justin Trudeau announces the largest auto manufacturer's bribe in Canadian history and sets a target for 100% of light trucks and SUVs to be zero emission by 2035. These are the same people who spend hundreds of thousands every year jetting around the world lecturing us on carbon footprint. I'm so sick of these religious nut bars. Here we go.
This is a historic day with the largest auto investment in Canada's history. Because today, Honda is making Canadian automotive history. With this announcement, we will be investing to create Canada's first comprehensive electric vehicle supply chain from start to finish.
In Canada,
Ecosystem will be built with 4 new manufacturing plants in Ontario, including an EV assembly plant, a standalone battery manufacturing plant, and 2 plants for battery components. These investments will create well over 1,000 well-paying manufacturing jobs, as well as many, many construction jobs, and of course, jobs all across Ontario and the country for auto parts suppliers. Honda has set a goal to make EVs represent 100% of vehicle sales by 2040. In Canada, our target is that 100% of all light-duty cars and passenger truck sales be zero emission by 2035. As a great Canadian once said, that is where the puck is going, and that is where we're going to be.
All right, so I have a little bit of personal experience in this, and I don't want to sound like I'm overly educated in electric vehicles, because I'm really not, but I live in the bit of a country, smaller town in northern BC, right? Hicksville, as some people like to say, and not in a derogatory sense, but everyone has pickup trucks. Pickup trucks are like the predominant thing in the city or the town that I live in. And I recently got a pickup truck, right? I bought a Dodge 1500 pickup truck, gasoline, a Hemi, a 5.71 liberal tier maker, okay? And I get decent fuel mileage, but I went to Ford, I went to Toyota, I went to Dodge, and I just asked simple questions. What if I traded in my Ram 1500 for something that's like a hybrid, right? To get a bit better fuel mileage. And you know what every single dealership said to me? Don't get a hybrid. Don't get a hybrid and stay away from electric. I believe Ford cut off manufacturing of their F-150 electric truck, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to say a lie, but I do think that's the rumor that I've heard. I know Toyota makes hybrids, and they've been leading the industry in hybrid vehicles for many, many years, but it was still recommended literally by a Toyota dealership in my town to not get a hybrid, because you're not really saving much mileage, right? And the cost of it is a little bit more expensive. And then they fail. They have to get brought in for maintenance and stuff like that. And so it's just bizarre that the government, and look, that's in out of town places, smaller communities out in the countryside. If you live in inner city, does it make sense for everyone to have electric vehicles? I have no idea. But the fact that the government is trying to force everybody into that ideology, it feels very cult-esque to not have a free market. to not give people the choice and just really kind of force people. And they're not demanding, they're not putting us at gunpoint saying, we're forcing you to switch to electric. They're making it unaffordable. They're making it so unaffordable to have any other option that you have to switch to electric. But the funniest part about all this is it's also unaffordable to get into the EV sector, because the price jump between, a $35,000 car that's gasoline to the same type of make model but electric is, instead of it's being 35,000 brand new, right, is now it's like 50, 55, 60,000. So it doesn't even make sense right now, at least. Very bizarre, but I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you pro EV, or are you just a simple gas or diesel type of guy or gal? Let me know down below. Next up, we have a same clip, or I guess a different clip, but from the same press conference here. After saying it's wrong for the government to run balanced budgets, Justin Trudeau gives Canadians an ultimatum, saying they have a choice between smaller government with less support and his expensive, intrusive one. Has Trudeau completely lost the plot? What's his strategy here? Here we go.
Yes, there are politicians who sit back and say, no. We've got to balance the budget at all costs, even if it means not investing in Canadian workers and investing in the future. Well, I think they're wrong. And that's part of the choice Canadians get to make over the coming year and a half when we get to a federal election. Are we a confident country that invests in ourselves, in our workers, in our future? Or do we sit back and say, okay, we'll let Canadians sort themselves out?
This guy has just completely lost the plot. He doesn't make any sense. Of course, you need a balanced budget. The budget is not going to balance itself. Mademoiselle Justin Trudeau. Very weird, but I'd like to know what you guys think down below. Who are you voting for? Who are you voting for, Trudeau or Pierre? Let me know down below in the comments. Next up, we have Justin Trudeau answers a question on rent counting towards credit scores and demonstrates that he has absolutely no idea how rent works and likely has zero credit score. Like IQ, if it were possible, Trudeau's score would be negative.
I was wondering about the rent payments that are going to count towards the credit score. Would this apply in cases where you're renting from a private, like they own the house and you're renting directly from that landlord?
Yes, your credit score hasn't counted rent, in part because rent wasn't as high as it is now and was not as significant event for expense as it is becoming now, but also because rent is not credit. Rent is a payment you're making every month that shows that you are reliable and responsible in your ability to pay a $2,000 rent. But if the bank then can't see that you've paid your $2,000 rent every month on time like clockwork for years, they should know, wow, you're going to be able to afford a $2,000 mortgage or a $2,500 mortgage as you move forward. You're a reliable consumer. These are the things that are very exciting. But again, Sean has more details on this. Yeah.
It's going to empower people to use their own banking information in a way that they see fit, is going to allow them to reach out to a service. And some of these services exist today, but struggle because the infrastructure is not in place. The digital infrastructure is not in place to allow them to scale.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's buying this crap anymore. And when they're talking about this stuff, they're not really making a whole lot of sense. If it's overly confusing, then that should be a massive red flag. This information, these ideas, these systems that they're putting in place, these policies, it should be very simple. But it's not. It sounds almost like a gimmick, and, well, that's left up to the voters. Do you think it's a gimmick? Do you not think it's a gimmick? We're going to have a time to vote, and that time to vote might be very soon. So there's this photo right here that's circulating online. I got elected right here, and it's actually taken, it's photoshopped. It's taken from this right here where Justin Trudeau goes back to drama teaching. I mean, teaching. His failed previous job. I have no idea what Trudeau thinks he's teaching in this instance. I'm a professional engineer, says Marty up north on X. Specifically, I'm a chemical engineer. The chemical reaction, O2 equals CO2, makes absolutely no sense, even as a partial reaction or as an intermediate step. I'd love to see the full video of this classroom. And that tweet is getting about 50,000 views as of making this video. Like to see how, actually, you know what, I'll just give it a nice little tap right there, see how that goes. If you want to see the outcome of this tweet, go check out Marty up north on X. And then Next up, we have Andrew Scheer saying, breaking news, Trudeau has 3 weeks left to call an emergency carbon tax meeting with provincial premiers as ordered by Parliament. Welcome to the big leagues, kiddo. 7 provincial premiers and 70% of Canadians are opposed to the carbon tax. Trudeau wants to quadruple it. Pierre Poilievre will axe a tax. Motion text that the House note, A, that the federal carbon tax is causing a debate in the country, and B, that while Quebec, British Columbia, and the Northwest Territories already have their own system in place, the government mandates carbon tax policy, that the House call on the Prime Minister to convene an emergency carbon tax and tarification meeting with Canada's 14 First Ministers, and that this meeting be publicly televised and held within 5 weeks of this motion adopted. So that was on April 10th, so he has 3 weeks left. This is awesome. I, for one, would absolutely, or very much, am looking forward to this debate happening, and I think it's going to put so much pressure on the Liberals, on the NDP, that you're going to start to see the polls, the projected polls, climb in favor of the Conservatives. Everybody is feeling the pinch. It doesn't matter how radical of a Liberal supporter or voter you are, or how NDP you or your family has been. When you go and you buy anything or you pay for any service, whether you're paying for rent, whether you're paying for a mortgage, whether you're applying for a mortgage, whether you're filling up your gas, whether you're paying for electricity to plug in your EV, whether you're going to buy groceries, anything you do that costs money, which is pretty much everything in this world, you're feeling the pinch, and that's because of government. Now, if we had people managing our books, right, our budgets, instead of just relying on the budget to fix itself, maybe people that weren't trying to gouge Canadians through taxes, we might be a little bit better off financially. It's very weird. And the Liberals cold-heartedly believe that the answer to all of our problems is more tax, more tax. And now we're going to take a look at capital gains tax. So you got Wall Street Silver here on next, saying the Liberal minister admits that the capital gains tax hike will cause doctors to leave Canada, because we have so many doctors here in Canada, and our healthcare system is so perfect, mwah, chef kiss perfect, that everybody across the country from coast to coast to coast has a doctor, right? It's not like no one in this country is left without a doctor. Everyone can easily make an appointment same day and go walk in, right? Right? I don't even have a doctor. My wife doesn't even have a doctor. Our freaking kids don't even have a doctor. Our kid doesn't have a doctor. And our next kid probably won't have a doctor, because we're running out of freaking medical professionals in this country, because nobody wants to be a medical professional in this country, especially not after this crazy capital gains tax. So instead, she wants to magically bring in doctors from other countries. There are already long waits to get a doctor's appointment. They plan to make it worse. Good job, Liberals.
There has been some pushback that this could affect family doctors and other professionals who incorporate their practice for the tax advantages that a corporation would have. So while individually, if they were, say, working, in a hospital, they would not necessarily be affected by the new capital gains inclusion. But if their corporate structure is such that they're relying on corporate investments to pay for their future and their retirement, they're going to be hit. And that in a country that's already struggling to have enough family doctors, this creates a disincentive for some of them to work in Canada.
We recognize that, but one of the things that we will continue to do is encourage foreign credential recognition to help we know that coming out of the pandemic, our healthcare has really been hampered, and there's a really challenge with labor. But the investments we made with foreign credentialing, we've already made a significant investment in previous budgets, and in this year we've topped that up, and we will continue to invest to ensure we're encouraging bringing talent from other countries to get their credentials recognized, and that will also encourage them to get more jobs here and fill the desperate labor market needs that are required in our healthcare industry.
No, and I understand the impetus to try to accelerate health professionals in particular to be able to work in Canada through the standard. But if doctors who are here now, who are set up through the existing corporate structure that relies heavily on capital gains income for their retirement and for their future, because they wouldn't have a pension in this sort of a situation, if they balk at the situation that has been created by this change, I mean, how do you deal with that? The goal is to not increase the gap in medical coverage, right? So how do you respond to the concerns being raised by people in that sector that this is potentially punitive to them?
If I take a step back to what I mentioned earlier, and you heard the Prime Minister said it, what we're really trying to do is really create a Canada that is fair for every generation. If we think about all the benefits that will help for young Gen Z.
Yeah, no one's buying their crap anymore, man. These people are making our country into almost a third world country. We're not there yet, but we're getting there soon. And it's expedited when you come across stuff like this. This is Keenan Bext on the counter signal saying, today, Canada now has a town that forces you to scan a QR code to enter and leave, and then charges you $30 in tax. They told you that 15-minute cities were just for convenience. You'll be allowed to leave, take off your tinfoil hat. This is crazy. It's the first time I'm hearing about this. But apparently, this is true. Ile de la Madeleine in the Gulf of the St. Lawrence has become the first municipality in Canada to officially require a QR code to leave and enter. What? Officials say that the requirement of a QR code to enter or leave will only be for tourists, while residents will be required to show their driver's license to leave and enter. The decision to require a QR code and identification for the municipality's 12,000 plus residents came after municipal government announced they would begin charging all visitors who come to this municipality $30, something which hasn't gone down well with the locals or their family members who visit them. That's pretty wild. Imagine driving up to see your family and you're being charged $30 because you're a visitor or a tourist. It's kind of weird, man. It seems like this whole WEF agenda, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You can't afford anything. You're no longer going to be able to eat meat. Everything's going to be bugs and all that stuff, all that conspiracy stuff. It's a conspiracy to talk about it now until a few years down the road when it starts to happen and maybe there's less hype about it. People have forgotten about it. And then it's like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's just a little change. It's a little change. It's kind of weird, man. It's kind of weird. And I think a lot of people are waking up to this and realizing, yeah, there's some puppet masters at play here. And it feels like our government are the puppets. And we're a little bit fed up with it, which is great because we're going to get to vote our way out of this, hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, that's where we're going to end today's video. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comments. On your way out, I'd like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.